Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to MST.TV. This is Nishi here bringing you all another Market Watch episode. So today we're discussing a couple of different things. Obviously with the ban list right around the corner, we're seeing a couple of shifts here and there as people try to get ready for whatever happens on the next list. And we're also seeing some movement as people get ready for changes in the meta, whether that's with new cards that we're going to be getting soon, or new archetypes coming to the TCG later this year, or even developments that are happening on a week by week basis. At any rate, I feel like a lot of these price jumps aren't going to be sticking too hard, so there's plenty of opportunity for us to be looking for cards to move. Let's get started. Okay, so I think we have to start off the video by talking about Ryan Yu winning the LCS online tournament playing Sky Strikers without Engage in the year 2020. This is huge news because we haven't really seen anything from Sky Strikers at all over the last few months, and then they kind of come out of nowhere and win an entire event. Now, the biggest jump price-wise was in the price of Sky Striker Ace Rose. The Starlight Rares were previously around $250 a piece, and now they're all the way up at $600 lowest on TCG Player, and then even the Ultra Rares have jumped from being around $4 to $5 all the way up now to 10 or 11. This isn't too surprising, especially considering that Rose has not had a reprint yet, being a relatively new card, and Sky Strikers are still one of the more popular archetypes in the game. However, there's definitely a lot to be cautious about here. I don't think that Starlight Rare Rose is going to be sticking at this price point. I think that it will be settling back down to around the $400 to $500 range as people gradually start relisting them back on the market. After the initial buyout, they were actually up at around $700 or $800, but you see a couple of people gradually starting to accept less and less for the card just to make that sale. And of course, the price falls accordingly. Obviously, this is going to be less than if we were talking about another card because there is such limited quantities of Starlight Rares available on the market. Also, I do think that 99% of the reason for the success of Sky Strikers in this tournament was from their pilot, Ryan Yu, being a very intelligent young Yu-Gi-Oh player and having a great understanding of both the deck and the meta, and of course having a bit of luck on his side as well. I don't think that your average Yu-Gi-Oh player will be seeing as much success piloting the same deck this format, so even if you're really big on the deck, right, just be cautious of trying to pick up these cards too aggressively, because as people realize that the deck maybe isn't too consistent or too great or easy to pilot, the prices of Rose will gradually drop. Next up, a card that absolutely everyone talks about every single ban list season that always seems to get hyped up, we have Maxx C. So we're starting to see the prices of Maxx C creep up across the board, though this does happen every few months, as a lot of people seem to think that Maxx C would be a great balancing force in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! If it were to come off the list. As a result, we always see even the lowest rarities bump up in price, and it's a big part of the reason why the ultimate rare copies have been several $100s for at least the past year or so, despite the card being banned for that entire time. So in terms of price, we're looking at a whole $50 for the secret rares, $20 for ultra rares, $8 for supers, $7 for gold, and then even $6 for the starter deck common version. I do personally think that this is a bit much for a card that people are just hoping is going to come back, and to be completely honest, I don't think that the card will be coming back anytime soon. I know it would be really interesting, and I know that a lot of people disagree, and they think that it should come back, which is fine. I do, of course, have a few copies for myself just in case they do come back, and if it does come off on the ban list, expect all of these prices to jump way up, right? Like, you can expect the commons to be like $10, $15. You can expect the secrets to easily hit 100 because they're still the original copies. But until then, right, we're likely to continue to see Maxx C follow this trend of increasing in price as we approach the ban list and then falling back off after the list is released and Maxx C isn't unbanned. Now, speaking of banned cards coming back, we have Firewall Dragon, which I personally think absolutely has zero chance of coming back into the game without an errata, of course. Despite this, we are actually seeing the original Firewall Dragons creep up in price, as the original first eds from Code of the Duelist are around $15 each, and the original Unlimiteds are around $8 each. Even the Megaton reprints are up to around $4 a piece. I really hope that no one actually thinks that Firewall Dragon is going to be coming back anytime soon, because that would probably ruin competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! For a little while. Rather, I think that this price jump comes from the fact that Firewall Dragon is one of the more iconic cards from the Yu-Gi-Oh! Link era. It's kind of like a modern day version of like Blue Eyes White Dragon, an extremely powerful card that fans of the TV show really like and appreciate, thus making it a really collectible piece, especially for the original prints. If this is you, then yeah, you probably have your reasons for holding on to this card, but if not, or you only like really classic cards and Firewall Dragon doesn't really do anything for you, then maybe you want to use this as an opportunity to move your copies while they are getting some attention. Next up, I really quickly want to touch on Photon Orbital. So Orbital is up to $65 a piece, which is still quite high considering that it was already at the $40 to $45 mark for the last while. Now this card was short printed in a Legendary Duelist set, meaning that there's very few quantities of it running around on the market, especially because it hasn't been reprinted yet. Now I can't really think of any specific reason that this card would be getting attention, aside from perhaps the fact that a lot of people seem to be thinking that ABC Dragon Buster is going to be going to 2 on the next ban list, which would immediately make both ABCs and Photon Orbital more viable. Now personally, I don't think that they're going to put ABC Dragon Buster back to 2. I don't think that Konami benefits at all from that. I don't think they have any union or machine support coming out that they're really pushing for us. So it doesn't make sense to make that move on the ban list for now. At any rate, I would be very cautious of Photon Orbital being reprinted in Battles of Legend Armageddon, as it did come out way back in 2018. Next up, we have Volcanic Rocket. So finally, at long last, as Pain96 has really been hoping, we got some fresh new Volcanic support, and it is amazing. It's really meta-defining and... nope, never mind, not Volcanic support. Looks like we are waiting another 600 days or whatever it is now. I hope you didn't get your hopes up. Now, in all seriousness, Volcanic Rocket is getting a bit of attention, but not for a great reason, I don't think. Now, the secret rares have actually been climbing up in price for quite a while, as they are old and hard to find, but they are really nice if you've ever seen them. However, we're now also starting to see a couple of the lower rarity versions of Volcanic Rocket bought out, as there are no near mint super rare copies available on TCG Player, and even the not very popular gold rares are around $9 a piece for near mint copies. So apparently in the next Duelist pack, we are getting a Merrick themed card called God Blaze Cannon, and in the OCG, the way that the wording works, you can search that card off of Volcanic Rocket. So theoretically here, it'll have like Blaze Accelerator in its name. Really, I don't think it's gonna see play, even if the Merrick themed stuff turns out being half decent. It kind of reminds me like a few years ago, back when Express Roid got bought out, because it's a Roid monster that searches for any other Roid, and it got bought out before the Speed Roid cards came to the TCG, because technically you could search for any of the Speed Roids with it, but it never really amounted to anything. And I don't think that Volcanic Rocket is going to see any more play here because of it. I would definitely use this as an opportunity to offload my lower rarity copies of Volcanic Rocket, while people do have somewhat of an eye on them. Alright, so this one's kind of weird to me. Pinpoint Landing, a secret rare from Cybernetic Horizon, has basically doubled in price, going from $2 or $3 to now being a $6 card. Not a huge price jump, but something that did catch my attention when I was kind of going over some prices. As far as I know, this card isn't seeing any meta play at the moment. I think that theoretically it would be okay in Adamancipators because they have a lot of cards that summon from the hand, like the Tuners or Gigantus, or maybe in some sort of like Danger deck, right? But they didn't even see play when Dangers were really big. I think that notably, VCT RFS covered it in a Market Watch on his channel a few weeks ago, and he kind of discussed it being a very cheap investment that you could make. So I don't know if maybe he had an influence and people decided to pick it up as a penny stock type of card. At any rate, this card wasn't reprinted in the 2019 Megatons, so if it were to suddenly start seeing play, it would naturally jump quite high, as we see with other cards that don't get those timely reprints like Orchestrated Return. This one is kind of up to you, right? And whether you think it's worth holding onto, or if it's destined to just be a flop of a card forever. So Eternity Code is clearly one of the best sets that we've had in quite a while. There are so many amazing cards in the set. I'm still of the opinion now that the best card in the entire set is Access Code Talker, which despite not being officially released here in North America, has seen another big price jump. Obviously, take this with a grain of salt, right? Because there are such limited quantities available on the market, so the prices are much more susceptible to volatility. However, while we were seeing access code talkers at around $55 each, they are now $75 lowest on TCG Player. I think that the card got a lot of attention after seeing it played quite a bit at the LCS online over the weekend, and when we look at online tournament results in the OCG, access code talker is the Link 4 monster of choice in a lot of decks, right? Even over cards like Appaloosa and Borrelsword Dragon. I hope that you guys listened to me when I told you all to pick them up at around the $50-ish range, because while the card may dip a little bit more when the set does drop, I'm fully expecting this card to be around $90 to $100, very similar to the prices that we're seeing from Appaloosa now. Alright guys, finally, we are looking a little ways into the future at the OCG, but Isolde, Two Tales of the Noble Knights is definitely a card that I would be keeping my eye on. This card is run at 2 Inflamed Noble Knight decks in the OCG, being a very important combo starter that kind of allows the whole deck's combos to get going. It will be a very important card after Rise of the Duelist drops here in the TCG later this year, and with Flame Noble Knights being a top tier deck in the OCG, I definitely think it's worth paying attention to. Now the ultra rare copies have jumped up a fair bit from what I remember. They were around like $4 to $5 I think, but now they're around $9 a piece. However, the super rare reprints from the special edition are still quite affordable at only around $2 a piece, and I definitely think it's a card that I would grab sooner rather than later. I could definitely see it very easily hitting at least $5 for the lowest rarity version, maybe even more if the deck really does become a tier 1 or tier 1.5 strategy here in the TCG, so keep your eye out for this card wherever you can. Alright guys, that is it for today's episode. I know that banlist time can be a very exciting time because so many people are excited about old cards or strategies coming back into the game, but I find that a lot of the time it's just a lot of hype that we see, right? Lots of people trying to get you to overreact about certain cards, so it's very important to try and be level-headed and approach things logically. In fact, you can use that time to look ahead to the future of the game and think about what opportunities there are coming up so that you can try to be ahead of the curve yourselves. Anyways guys, if you did enjoy today's episode, please be sure to hit that thumbs up button for me. It does help out a ton. Also, make sure you leave a comment in the comment section down below, letting me know what you guys think of the market, what else is going on that maybe I didn't talk about today, so that I can potentially cover it in a future episode, and make sure that you guys as viewers are as informed as possible. Also, if you haven't already, please make sure you consider subscribing to MST.TV for all of the latest and greatest content from Tombox and myself here on the channel. And yeah, so until next time guys, don't forget to hold on to your MST.TV.